So here we are out in the wilds. We're in the north part of Derry, Londonderry in Northern Ireland, and we're very close to the border with the Republic of Ireland. But as you can see, borders are no great respecters of beauty. We're very lucky, anybody who comes from this part of the world. We're spoiled rotten. I've painted this scene a few times before, and one of the reasons is because as a composition, and this is what this is about, it's what this little video is about, it's about what to paint. Well, the best I can do is to give a couple of rules of thumbs. First one is what I always look for, is something of interest in the foreground. And if I can get the angle right here, you can see those lovely little yellow-white flowers just right there at the foreground. In the midground, there's also a little bungalow and a beautiful mature tree in full bloom. And it's nice sometimes, if you're looking for a handsome landscape, to go out during the summer and take as many photographs as you can, because the trees are in full bloom. It does make a difference, as does the sunlight. That's another thing to look for. Look for extremes of weather. Because with sunlight comes light and shade, comes sunlight and shadow. And it's actually the time, said he, glancing down at his watch, it's 7:15 in the evening. And I think leaving it till later on is better, both from the point of view of photography and the fact that you may get more interesting shadows at that time. And very much, if you wanted to give this picture a title, it's going to be something, summery, something like summer fields. And people like that. It immediately gives the painting a theme. It immediately gives it a story and a narrative. And a picture's much better when you do that. It's also going to be original because I've got out here and I'm taking this photograph. It's only me taking it, so unless it becomes crowded here, it's quite a unique scene. So I have already solved that problem of originality, and that this is my take, this is my choice of landscape. I could have taken this from so many other angles. But one of the reasons that I've actually chosen this as well, this is the second point, is that I want to use a thing called the rule of thirds. Now what does that mean? Well, if we look through any lens, we usually get this format, this landscape rectangular format. But if you notice, what I'm doing is that I have positioned the tree roughly about a third over on the vertical. And now I'm just going to take the horizon line by bringing the camera down a bit up to the top third. Here, see that? I'm shaking that horizon so you can see it. So basically I have on a vertical and on the horizontal roughly a third from the top and a third over. Now, just trying to get it right. I also have something of interest in the foreground, something in the midground, and those beautiful hazed blue hills in the background. So this is our painting. And let's see if I can just maybe find an optimum point for it. Yeah, I think I had it. I think that's it. So that's what you look for. Look for something of interest in all three grounds: fore, mid and background. And you can't go wrong. And also look to position things not centrally, but off center. Let me just position that tree on the center for you. It's not quite the same. Looks a bit, I don't know, contrived, this sort of up and down and thing. But once we offset it ever so slightly over towards roughly 1/3, there you'll find that there's a sudden sort of niceness about the picture. So this is going to be our painting, folks. This is what you do. Get a little flask of tea and some sandwiches, go out for the day. And make sure you take a camera with you. This is a nice camera I'm using, but you don't really, today your camera on your phone is just as good. They're fantastic. The technology has come so far. So what I'm going to do now is take a few stills of this, and we'll hopefully take that back to the studio. So how have the artists of the past approached landscape? The tradition of landscape painting in any form was born from centuries of evolved painting styles, beginning with the tinted walls of the ancient classical Greeks, who adorned their walls with beautiful gardens and rolling hills. But it was not until millennia later, with the Italian Renaissance in the 16th century, that this technique was revived, and it was brought to height by Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo was notorious for incorporating landscapes behind his subjects and utilising dramatic light and shade and rugged terrain. As the Renaissance revived the classical ideas and naturalistic elements like scenery and landscape, it sparked a new interest in studying nature and its importance. But idealist landscape painting truly began in the Netherlands, the location of a steadily growing population of Protestants that wanted a more secular option to the traditional religious subject matter. By the 17th century, the landscape was perfected, displaying an idealized classical harmony where nature was balanced and serene. Landscapes were still not the highest form of painting recognized by the Royal Academies, but they remained popular, steadily growing in importance. Finally, late in the 18th century, these academies recognized landscape as historic and important, documenting nature as an educational study. This led the way for one of the first genres of American art, using the landscape as a form of American history, and the Romantic movement in Europe that sought to capture wild and terrible landscapes and conditions. By the late 19th century, the Impressionists painted some of the world's most beloved landscapes. Artists like Van Gogh and Monet were practicing the technique of plein air, or painting outdoors. Now that pre-mixed boxed paints were readily available, the artist could travel outdoors to paint amidst a more natural setting, looking at the qualities of light. Quickly changing social customs and the idea of the weekend, the bourgeoisie could take the train to the countryside on the weekends, escaping the drab of the city. Moments like these were captured by the Impressionists and their contemporaries, documenting this new lifestyle in paintings of landscapes and social scenes. But here in Northern Ireland, and in Ireland in general, given the beauty of our own backyard, landscape has featured high in the work of local Irish artists. Artists like Paul Henry and Derry captured a disappearing way of life on Irish offshore islands. Hill in particular established the Tory Island School of Painting. Two local artists, Pat Cowley and Arthur Twells, painted Donegal in all its former glory, whilst names like Basil Blackshaw are known beyond these shores.